Hi guys, good evening. Another week has just finished. Like I say this every Friday, and I realize that it seems to be very quick for me, the intermission between saying it on last Friday and saying it today. Time just flies. And today, the topic that we have is on adaptability. Like, as we all know, right, we are going through so much of changes. In fact, from the time that we stepped into the 21st century, the change that we have been experiencing has been amazing. If you look back into the 20th century, like if you have looked at how our parents worked, our grandparents worked, things were quite stable. Even the industrial age was was pretty fast, but it was nowhere near as fast as the stuff that has happened in the 21st century. Our world has just exponentially changed, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. Change just keeps coming faster and faster. Hi Tambi, nice to see you. And especially if we look at what has happened in the last 2 years, ever since the COVID outbreak came, everything has just changed. So what we are going to talk about today is the importance of being adaptable. So Charles Darwin has told us a long time before that the species that survive is not the strongest, but the one that is the most adaptable. And this is just becoming so relevant to us. And we are not just going through changes, in a way, we are also going through adversity right now. We are going through difficult times, challenging times. The pandemic has created so much in this world. So much has been taken away from people, and besides having to adapt to something new, we also have to bounce back from a lot of difficulties. So we need two very important criteria right now, especially in 2021. Two things that are extremely important is resilience, as well as adaptability. Resilience, when we hit tough times, resilience helps us to bounce back. So that's very important. However, a lot of people are not able to bounce back to the new changes. People want to bounce back to how it was in 2019. People want to bounce back to how their life was back then, before the pre-pandemic days. The thing is, that's not going to happen anymore. We will never ever go back to the old norm. The new norm is here to stay, and it's changing. We have no idea how things will be in 2022, how the things in our lives will be impacted. So these are things that we have to consciously think about. So whenever there is a change, and change is constant, just that right now we are moving at a breath, at a breath, what's the word, breathneck speed, I think that's the correct turning. So things are just moving so fast, and we just have to keep adapting. So what happens is that we are in a current state, and then we are here, and then suddenly a change agent comes. Now this change agent can be anything. It can come from the environment, it can come from the government, can come from technology, it can come from a virus, like what we all have experienced. And because of this, now we realize that the situation that we are in is no longer optimal. Ourselves, in the current way we operate, the current way we think, is not really valid anymore when everything around us has changed. So we have to move to this place. This is where we want to go. And there is a gap. And this gap is, typically we call it the change gap. And we have to figure out how to move towards the change gap. What is it that we need? And we have to have a lot of awareness. And the other thing about change is that we don't always know what is going to happen. It's easy if we know, like as we grow up, right, we know we have to go from year 1 to year 6, and then we have to move on to secondary school. these things are, although they are changes, they are very known changes, they are established changes. It's very easy for our mind to deal with. And we have people who have gone through this, people who can mentor us, people, our parents can tell us the same stories, because nothing has changed here. But when we are talking about the current kind of change, no one really knows what is going to happen. Yeah, we do not know what 2022 is going to be like. We already know that technology is changing so fast. We know that robots are coming in, AI is coming in, jobs are going to be shifted, some jobs are going to be taken away. We know all these things, but we don't know exactly how things are going to unfold. And although we are looking for guidance, those people who are in the guiding positions, they may not know as well. Like with the COVID, our scientists don't know. The people who are manufacturing vaccine, they don't know. They are doing things based on the best knowledge that they have. Yeah. But they are, and they are also figuring out things as they go along. So for us, if we want to move on productively into, into our future, we have to be very flexible. We have to have a lot of open-mindedness, and we basically have to have a very clean slate. I think in the Zen philosophy, they call it the Shoshin mindset, or the beginner's mindset. When we think of ourselves as expert, we will have a lot of resistance in moving forward. This is how I have always done it. I've always gone to office. I've always done my work face to face. And it'll be very difficult for us to accept that, digital way of doing things, virtual way of doing things is here to stay for some time anyway. And probably in future, because once people are used to doing a lot of things from the convenience of their home, they will find it to be convenient to do things that way. Not everybody will want to go back to everything in the old way. So we have to look at what are the things that we need to shift. So that's one of the things that is really important. And when we are doing this, right, the expert's mind is that, when we have got a lot of, when we think of ourselves as an expert, we are going to have a lot of blocks, because a lot of things are, we feel very comfortable in doing things in a certain way and in a predictive way. But now we know that those things are not serving us anymore. So the faster we can let go of these things and just come to a place where we are a clean slate, it will allow us to quickly close the gap and to move on. The other thing that is very important when we are trying to be adaptable is to zoom out and see the big picture. Whenever we are in a stressful situation or anything, we have got a tendency to look closely at things. And what we need to do is actually we need to be able to zoom out and look at things from different angles and see how this is affecting us. And this will help us to, hi Morgana, and this will actually help us to see things from a different perspective, see things from a different angle, and we will be able to close the gap on what we are supposed to do. If we are too, like what they say, you can't see the forest for the trees. We have to zoom out so that we can see the forest in different angles, and we can get a different idea. Maybe we can figure out who else we can go and seek help from, or go and seek a different perspective from, instead of just being stuck at one particular thing that we are looking at and thinking that it's all bad. And although we think that this sounds very logical, but this is typically not what a lot of people do. Even businesses, and that is why a lot of businesses have failed, because they are always looking at only one angle. When Amazon came, a lot of bookstores did not pick on doing things by internet. It took a long time and a lot of bookshops to close down before this was adapted. When Netflix came, it also kind of brought a lot of big businesses, blockbusters and stuff like that. It actually brought them down, because they were all very focused on only one thing, that they didn't zoom out and see the different options that technology is bringing. yeah, Nokia. We've got so many stories, Kodak, because they were not able to zoom out. They were just fixed on their niche in the market, and they didn't see how things are changing outside. So for us to also thrive, we have to have that ability to every now and then zoom out and see things from different perspectives. That's really important. And the third one is to experiment with assumptions. When something is new, we really have no idea what is the correct way of doing things. One of the things that we are always looking for is what is the correct way of doing this. I want to know from somebody what is the correct way of doing it. But when change is happening, there's really no correct way, because no one is an expert. No one knows what is going to happen. So we have to have the ability to try out new things, and be able to accept that some of the things that we try out may not work out, and it's okay if they don't work out. We have just found a different way of not doing something, and it's one less way. Like what Edison said, I can't remember how many light bulbs he tried, but it's like, the thousandth one worked. So he found 999 ways of not doing a light bulb, instead of saying that he failed how many times. So that is one way of looking at it. And so what we need to do is we need to focus our energy on building something new, and not focus it on fighting to keep the old, because a lot of times that is what we tend to do. And yeah, so the last one that I want to talk about is that when we are being adaptable, the most important thing that we have to focus on is our emotions. Because when we are going through change, a lot of time we will experience anxiety, stress, and stuff like that. If we focus on that emotion, we are not going to get anything out of it. What we really need to focus on is what action can we take so that we do not keep getting this stress and anxiety and stuff. We can take a different kind of action to get a more positive emotions in place. So this is something that we can think about, and we can do this. So that's all that I have for today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. And yeah, just think about being adaptable and how to unlock the mindset for the future, instead of being stuck, because things are going to change and a lot of it is unknown, and we just have to be able to be open and be receptive. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.